This is news that I myself have been waiting for. We all know that Leigh Wood wasn't going to stay at featherweight any longer and defend the WBA belt against his mandatory Otabek Kholmatov. So for me, it was always expected that he would eventually vacate the belt after his fight with Josh Warrington. And then the belt would go vacant, and you would have the number one contender, Otabek Bruce Lee Kholmatov, fight the number two contender, Raymond Ford. Now, it's happened today, ladies and gentlemen. Leigh Wood has officially vacated the belt, and it hasn't been confirmed yet, but but everyone is fully expecting that Kholmatov, who's number one in the WBA, he was a mandatory, will fight the number two contender, Raymond Ford. So with that being said, before we get to the matchup with Ford and Otabek, man, Leigh Wood ducked Otabek. He didn't want that Uzbek smoke. I'll tell you that right now. Because the minute he heard that this guy was a mandatory, he said to hell with that. This is going to be my last fight at 126. I want to fight Joe Cordina at 130. That's what he started talking whenever the minute Otabek got named as mandatory. Now, for those that don't know who Otabek Kholmatov is, I've been banging this drum because I really do think, he's from Uzbek. He's an Uzbek fighter. He's from Uzbekistan, but he trains here in South Florida. And he's one of these guys here in South Florida that I've been praising for a couple of years now. I've been banging the Otabek Kholmatov drum for a while now, and I've always thought he was world championship material. And to be honest with you, obviously Raymond Ford can win the fight. I mean, Raymond Ford's a solid fighter. I don't think he's like a fan. I don't think he's like Eddie Hearn's best American fighter or anything like that. I think Raymond Ford's actually been underwhelming, in the pros. He's been a very up and down fighter. Some fights he looks decent. Some fights looks good. Some fights looks like trash. I mean, he's been a very inconsistent fighter. Pressure fighters seem to give Raymond Ford a lot of trouble. But I'll tell you this right now. This is going to be I know the boxing world doesn't know who this man on my screen is unless you're really up on your boxing. But I'm trying to tell you guys, I'm trying to tell anyone who will listen, Raymond Ford is in trouble. Like, this boy is in some big, big trouble. This man's in some big, big trouble because Raymond Ford, style-wise, he's a fighter that relies on fighting at distance, being slick, and he's very much a confidence fighter. He's a bit of a front runner. Like, if things don't go his way, he has lethargic performances in fights. This is a fight where you have a guy who has a truckload of amateur experience. He's been in a couple of decent fights in the pros. He hits like a truck. He has incredible stamina for days. Raymond Ford's going to have his work cut out for him. And, I like Ford. But whatever skill, I said it in my last video. And I'll say it again. And I'll say it like whatever he has deep in that bag of his, he needs to pull it out this fight. Whatever counter punching he's got, whatever setups he has that he hasn't shown, he needs to show up this fight because he's fighting a guy who is a big featherweight, a guy who's a very well-conditioned featherweight, guy who's a very experienced fighter, guy who punches pretty hard. And I think it's a great test for him. I think this is the kind of fight for me, at least for me. I can't speak for nobody else but myself. If Raymond Ford wins this fight, I'm gonna have to look at him completely different because he's fighting someone that I think is gonna beat the brakes off him. Honestly, I don't think he's gonna have much for Otabek. I see MEZBX saying that there's been fights where I'm not the only one saying this. There's been fights where he has looked like trash. If you want to go through the box rec, I'll name them for you. The Aaron Perez fight, I was there. He didn't look that great. He looked like trash that fight. The Edward Vasquez fight where he got a get decision, he looked like trash that fight. Them two fights in particular, I'm not saying he's trash because every fighter is entitled to have a trash performance. Even Otabek, as much as I like him, he had a performance that was not like creme de la creme against what was this guy's name? Andrek, this guy right here, the 14-0 guy he fought. He didn't look the greatest that fight. That guy took him the distance, even though it was a convincing win. It wasn't like his best performance, right? So every fighter is entitled to not look the best. You're saying that Raymond Ford's just getting his man strength. I mean, okay, maybe that's the case. Maybe he needed to mature a bit, and this fight's happening at the right time. But I'm just telling you, Raymond Ford, whatever he has in that bag, he better pull it out this fight Because if he don't, he's gonna get beat up. And I'm just being honest. That's my honest opinion. Because from what I've seen of Raymond Ford, and listen, I can only go off of what I've seen. I've watched almost every fight in his career. So I've watched the fights from his pro debut to right now. Every fight that's been on the zone, I've seen of his. He's a guy that the old timers would call a cutie, a guy that likes to maneuver defensively a lot, slick, athletic, got above average punching power. I think he punches a little bit harder than his knockout ratio suggests, but he's a fighter that sometimes I look at him and he's a bit of a front runner. Otabek's, and I agree with you. I was just getting to that. Otabek's defense is the main thing that I think it's going to give Raymond Ford a chance to win. But my thing is, if Raymond Ford can't hurt him and he just keeps coming forward, and the thing is, I've seen it. I know what Raymond Ford's gas tank is like. He don't got a great gas tank. If Otabek don't got nothing else, he got a great gas tank. He can box. The defense does got to improve, so I agree with that. But I just think ultimately this is going to be a fight where I think Raymond Ford, like the first 4 or 5 rounds, I could see it being like 2-2 or 3-2. I could see maybe Raymond Ford is up by more than that. But that gas tank going to give out. Otabek will eventually find his range and his timing, and he's going to beat him up throughout the fight. That's how I think it's going to go. But it's a great fight because I feel like not a lot of people except boxing nerds like me know who Otabek Kholmatov is yet. So it's a chance for him to really prove and validate himself to a lot of people in the boxing world. He hasn't really fought on no big platforms. Like when he fought Thomas Ward, he fought not even on the zone. It was like on a random app. I forgot what it was called. And then he fought Andres Gregorian on Intro Box, this small promotional company that I'm not even sure exists anymore, right? So that being said, he will have a chance to validate himself and everything I'm saying about him. And Raymond Ford, he's going to have a chance to be Eddie Hearn's first Matchroom USA world champion. Because, I think Diego Pacheco is better than Ford, but Ford has a chance to be the first. And I think he's getting an opponent where if he's better than he's shown, then obviously if he beats him, then I got to talk about him a lot differently. David Isha says, I think Kholmatov will get robbed if he managed to let Ford go the distance. It's possible. I mean, Raymond Ford already has 2 good decisions. I mean, the Perez fight, he lost, and was Vasquez, he lost that fight too. I look at Raymond Ford as a 2-loss fighter. Not saying he can't come back, not saying he can't mature, but I look at him as a 2-loss fighter. Otabek Kholmatov fought a guy who was 0-11. He did. Yeah, he went to the Dominican Republic during COVID when he first turned pro, or like just after COVID when he first turned pro. They padded his shit up real nice, and now he got 2 little decent fights, and he ready to fight for the world title. So we'll see what it is. But listen, I don't even care about his resume because I've seen him in the gym. I don't need to see him. I don't even need to see his fight. I've seen him in the gym. I've seen him spar. I don't know, probably 50 rounds. So I know what kind of fighter he is. I know his whole fight game inside and out. And I'm telling you, Raymond Ford better come and shape this fight. If Raymond Ford don't come and shape this fight, because I know Raymond Ford's a bit of a cocky dude. If Raymond Ford doesn't take him serious, if Raymond Ford does what you're doing and looks at the box rec, I'm telling you, it's gonna be a very bad night for him. And I just hope that he comes in shape. I know Otabek will come in shape. And listen, it's a great fight for the featherweight division. I actually would say, like, if the fight happens this year, it's probably one of the fights I'm most excited for in 2023 because I do think Raymond Ford is a little bit better than he's shown, but he hasn't shown it yet. So now he's got the chance to show it. Now he's got the chance to show it. I'm looking forward to seeing how it happens. I think Ford will surprise you with his IQ. He's a work in progress. Listen, I want to be surprised. I love being surprised. Please surprise me. I don't think he's going to be Otabek. But we'll see. David Isha says, do you think Kholmatov is more skilled than Ergashev? Do I think he's more skilled than Ergashev? They're different fighters. Ergashev, I don't think, has the conditioning of Otabek. But Ergashev, I think, understands his range a bit better than Otabek. And he's a bit better of a pure boxer than Otabek for mid-range. But Personally, I think I like Otabek more than I like Ergashev. I think Ergashev, there's some things about him. There's some things about him mentally, you know. I'm not gonna get into him here because I don't want to talk bad about Ergashev, but there's some things mentally about him that I just don't. I like Otabek's mental side towards boxing. I'll tell you guys a story. You want to hear a story? I'll tell you a story. The last time I went to that gym where Otabek trains, it's called Warriors Gym, or it's called something different now. But the last time I saw Otabek, I asked him. I said, Otabek, he don't speak much English, but his English is getting better. I said, hey man, I want to see you fight the monster Naoya Inoue. And once he understood what I said, he did this. He said Inoue too small. And he said when that fight happens one day, he's gonna beat the brakes off of him. But that's what he told me pretty much. So listen, he can't even think about Inoue. I can't even think about Inoue if he don't beat Raymond Ford. And truth be told, listen, if he can't beat Raymond Ford, then he don't deserve to be anywhere near Inoue. And that's just the truth. My main man, Emmys or Fix Electronics says that Raymond Ford just became a father, so he's taking this fight serious. Okay, well, good. God bless him on his newborn child. You know, that'll make anybody take their life more serious and whatever they're doing more serious. But I'm just telling you, man, I don't think Raymond Ford's gonna have the gas tank to deal with Otabek for 12 rounds. Maybe the speed and the athleticism catches him early. Maybe he could hurt him and knock him out or something like that. But barring anything like that, I just think it's going to be a fight where Raymond Ford severely gets beat up. And if he doesn't, and I'm wrong, I'm going to clip this video and I'm going to put it out. You can feel free to come on here and type in exposed, and I'll stand by what I say. MEZ says, I watched him fight on YouTube, and Otabek has many flaws. Yes, I didn't say he doesn't. But I don't think he has the amount of flaws that, like, I don't think his flaws are so damning that Ford's going to take advantage of him. I don't think Ford has the attributes to capitalize on him, just to be honest. Because to beat Otabek, you need to either A, be an elite boxer, you need to either B, have the right conditioning, or be a world-class puncher. I don't think Raymond Ford's a world-class puncher. I don't think Raymond Ford is like the most conditioned fighter. And he's not like a elite, like pure boxer, but he's above average. He's good. And I know he was National Golden Gloves champion, so obviously he does have some amateur exploits to speak of. So he's not chopped liver. I'm not trying to sit here and make it sound like I'm hating on Raymond Ford. I'm just telling you, stylistically, it's a hard fight for him. And really, truthfully, when I look at the WBA rankings of the guys Raymond Ford could have fought for his first world title, it's pretty hard. It's a pretty hard fight. So we'll see. But listen, best of luck to him. It'd be nice to see Raymond Ford rise to the occasion and put some work in on Otabek. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a really hard hill to climb. Nonetheless, I don't want to harp too much on that. There's other things I want to talk about going on in boxing. What else is there in boxing? Oh, crazy enough.